Everybody seated? How we doing, media? You all good? So we've got a couple folks carrying this live. You all good? So, welcome you to a very important day in franchise's history as we announce important transitions and vision for the future with our leadership team. As you see seated up here on the dais, left to right, for those of you in the media, Bill DeWitt Jr., Bill DeWitt III, Anouk Karun Arape, and Chaim Bloom. And also our manager, Oliver Malmal, who today, officially named, I know it's been out there, to the National League All-Star team as one of the coaches. So congratulations to Ali and his family. We're proud to be representing the Cardinals at the All-Star team. Before we start, just a reminder, silence your phones. When we get the Q&A portion, raise your hand, I'll call on you. And then with your questions, let us know who you're directing them towards, and we'll proceed. Try to keep it somewhat orderly. First of all, we'll have remarks from Bill, then Bill III, and Anouk, and then we'll open up the Q&A. So at this time, Cardinals Chairman Bill DeWitt Jr.
Thank you. First, I'd like to congratulate Chaim and Ollie on a great season so far. The rest of the season should be a lot of fun. Today, I'm proud to introduce two senior executive promotions. First, Bill DeWitt III will become Chief Executive Officer of the Cardinals. In his new role, Bill will be responsible for both the business and baseball areas. Anouk will become our new President of Business Operations and take on additional operational duties. I will continue in my role as chairman and principal owner, and will continue to have involvement in significant baseball and business decisions. The promotions of Bill and Anouk represent a new era for the Cardinals organization, built on a foundation of organizational excellence, family stewardship, and a clear vision for the future. We're fortunate to have an outstanding leadership team in place, and I could not be more confident in the future of Cardinals baseball. With that, I would like to turn it over to Bill.
Thanks, Dad. I look forward to continued daily collaboration with you on all these strategic issues that we face. And today's announcement's really part of a planning process that's been in place for a few years. In some ways, it's not that big of a change, as all of us up here have been working together closely, for a couple years now. But in formalizing these roles, we're just firming up the leadership structure that will lay the foundation for the next wave of organizational and team success. Chaim and Anouk are both young, energetic leaders who have learned a lot from other organizations, but who also have a great feel for what makes the Cardinals so special. My role will be to ensure that everyone is aligned and working together on our common goals. On the baseball side, we know that there's still a lot of work ahead, and we're committed to a plan that will lead to a sustained competitiveness and hopefully a championship. And so far this year, we're off to a great start. On the business side, we have significant opportunities ahead of us as we continue to strengthen our connection with fans, navigate changes in the media landscape, and continue to push our team to be best in class at everything we do. Since joining the Cardinals, Anouk has taken on increasing responsibility across the organization, and he's become involved in all aspects of the business. He has earned the trust and respect of people throughout the organization, and he's positioned to help us navigate some of our most important priorities and opportunities in the years ahead. I'm excited about this group and the future of the Cardinals. And now I'll turn it over to Anouk.
Thanks, Bill. I want to start with a few thank yous. First, thank you to the DeWitt family for your trust, for your dedication to this organization, and for your support of what we're building here. Thank you to Chaim for your partnership over the last year. Thank you to my amazing teammates here at the Cardinals. for everything that you do for our fans. It is a privilege to work alongside a group of people that are as dedicated and as committed to this organization and to our fans as you. And of course, thank you to my family, in particular my wife, without whom I would not be up here today. I am deeply honored to take on this responsibility. I understand the weight that comes with it and the standard that's been set by those who've held this role before me. I am clear-eyed about where we are as an organization and what we need to do, but more than that, I'm incredibly excited about what we're building toward. St. Louis means a great deal to me. I first came here in college when I attended WashU, and now I'm raising my family here. My wife and I are. And being a part of this community has really reinforced how special it is and how much the Cardinals mean to people here. You know, you see it in the way that people talk about this team. You see it in how it shows up in everyday life and how it brings people together. You know, it's really a part of who people are, and there's both a pride and an expectation that comes with that. And I want to make sure I'm speaking directly to our fans here. You know, the last few years for many of you haven't just been about where we finished in the standings, it's been about how it's felt along the way. And this season has felt different. I think it's given us a glimpse into what the future can look like. But the expectation here has always been excellence, both on the field and off the field. And our job is to live up to that standard, and it starts with how we operate as an organization. So the question is, how do we get there? Well, you've heard Chaim talk about getting back to what has driven success here for more than 100 years, drafting and developing the right way. That's how the Cardinals build winning teams. But just as important has always been the support of this fan base. It's the families who make the drive in from across the region, parents and grandparents passing down the tradition to the next generation, the way that our fans show up night after night. That's when the Cardinals are at their best. And, you know, that support is not something that we can assume. We have to earn it every single day. And that means putting our fans at the center of every decision we make and every action we take. You know, that's the focus of our business organization. And so my job is to make sure that this is an organization that is aligned, that is disciplined, that is accountable, one that can support a consistent winner on the field and can earn the trust and respect of our fans. And that's going to show up in how we make decisions and how we work together and ultimately how we deliver for our fans every day, because that's what you deserve. So it's our job to give you a reason to show up, to make coming to the ballpark an experience that's worth your time and your money, to make it easy to stay connected to this team, and to make sure that Cardinals baseball matters to the next generation of fans. We're going to approach this with urgency. We are going to be clear and consistent in how we move forward. And just as importantly, we're going to listen, because putting our fans at the center means acting on what we hear. So over the last 2 years, we've already begun this work. We're going to keep building on it. There's work ahead of us. We understand that. But there's also a real opportunity ahead of us. We all know what the Cardinals can be at their best. That's what we're building towards. And ultimately, that matters. It matters to this organization. It matters to this city. And it matters to every one of our fans. And we're ready, and we're going to get after it. So I'm excited. Thank you for your time. And I think with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Bill III, thank you for your remarks. Congratulations, Bill III, and Anouk on your new titles, and wish you much success, certainly in your positions, and obviously for the entire organization here in St. Louis. So with that, we will open for questions. If you raise your hand again, I will call on you, and just let us know who you're directing a question to. Jeff Jones?
Bill, when you talk about the significant decisions that you will still be involved in on a day-to-day basis, what changes for you with today's announcement? What makes things different for you from a day-to-day perspective?
what changes?
For your day-to-day operations in terms of your relationship with the team and you being the chairman of the team, does anything change, I suppose, with the announcements today?
Well, nothing's really changed. I stay in touch with, obviously, Bill III. Baseball stays in touch with me. And I talk all the time. So, I may or may not be here, but I'm here in spirit and available 24/7. So, I'm in touch with all the things we're looking to do, and it's working out pretty well.
Frank?
Bill, what is the single most important thing you've gotten out of watching your father run this franchise? What's your biggest takeaway from his career that you'll try to implement?
We were meeting with employees before this, and I got that question, and I touched on the fact that his passion for the game was just literally part of his DNA. When we got involved 30 years ago, I would watch games with him, and he would have insights into what was going on in the game that I was like, how did you know that? Or that's not what I was thinking, but and so I think just that passion for it and the passion for the day-to-day interest in how the organization is evolving, especially young players, being just excited about, when a player hits 3 home runs or 4 home runs down in the AAA is maybe somebody hitting one up here. So I would say that's the big one.
Derek?
I know you touched on this in your comment. I'd like to ask you and also Bill III about this, because the timing of this, especially where the industry is writ large. You just saw the team through the turbulence of the regional sports network collapse. There's a CBA coming up. I wonder how you guys see this as an entry point for you at these positions, and what the next 12 to 24 months could look like in the industry, and how that could impact the Cardinals.
I'll start. I think we really liked the model that we sort of stumbled on with Heim, where he came in, he was sort of a free agent, and we snapped him up, and he consulted for a year, and then obviously last year made a number of changes in the organizational structure during Mo's last year, and that seemed to work well, and Nook kind of similarly had a good runway here. And so it made sense, given that he had, shown that leadership capabilities and during his previous, 2 years plus. So that kind of drove it from my point of view.
Yeah, and I think as much as today's announcement formalizes new titles, this has been very much an evolution in terms of responsibilities, starting with Heim taking on his position. And all 4 of us have, kind of been working in a model in terms of how we're collaborating on decisions, that it's not going to be the case that tomorrow is just a brand new operating model. This has very much been an evolution. So I think that answers your first question. And then, I think on the second point, there's always challenges you're dealing with. And that's just kind of part of it feels like operating in the modern world. The media landscape is changing. How fans and consumer behavior is evolving is changing. And part of the role is to stay on top of that and to evolve with the fans. And that's very much what we're focused on. And I think there's a lot of cool opportunities that we've talked about, some of which we've implemented, some of which we've only talked about that we'll be focused on in terms of ultimately fulfilling our purpose of connecting with our fans and allowing them to feel close to Cardinals baseball.
And, it is a CBA year, so things can change in the whole landscape, but just being ready for a lot of different types of scenarios is one of the things we've worked on, and I think everybody needs to work on just scenario planning.
Benjamin?
For Bill Jr., you won 2 World Series. Obviously, a lot of great years in between there, but to win a championship twice, can you put into words what that means to you and your franchise?
Well, everybody aspires to winning the World Series, and we've been fortunate enough to have 2 of those, and we've been there additional times. So, my age, I can look back and as well as look forward, and know that, this is a great baseball town, and it's helped continue the baseball spirit to have one like that. One other thing I would point out, which probably most of you know, I know Derek would know this, my father started with the Cardinals in 1913. So our family goes back pretty far, and we're all in. We just had lunch with our grandson, who happens to work for the Cardinals. So, we're excited about not only what's occurred to date, but what the future is.
Randy?
Nick, you've mentioned a couple of times connecting with your fans, and obviously connecting is different than it was in 96 or 06 or 16. How do you connect with fans now?
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly different, and I think you have to connect in different ways. The media landscape has become much more fragmented. There are people that still read the newspaper, and there's people that watch YouTube videos, and everything in between. There's people that stream the game. There's people that watch on cable, the way they have watched for many years. There's people that just watch social media highlights and clips, not even clips of the game, but behind the scenes content that showcases what players are doing and thinking when they're not playing baseball. And I think what's important in all of that is we need to understand how our fans are connecting with, interacting with our brand, whether that's online or in the broadcast or when they're coming to the game, and recognize that our fans are not a monolith. We have fans that have young kids and young families. We have fans that have been diehard Cardinal fans for 80 years and have held season tickets for generations. There's people that are coming for a fun night out with their friends or to close a business deal. And we have to understand how we can provide value and how we can provide a compelling and entertaining experience, both in the ballpark and across all of those touch points, where we can meet our fans where they're at. And so that makes it a little bit more, nuanced and challenging, but that's very much the direction that we've been working towards.
Brendan Schaefer?
Kind of along those lines, can you speak to some of those initiatives, obviously the family section and the right field section, kind of catering to those different groups, I suppose, of what Cardinals fans look like, and maybe where you look to go from here with regard to some of those game day initiatives?
Yeah, we have tried out a few different things over the couple years that I've been here. Fundamentally, I think the groups that we focused on, last year we introduced Friday Night Live, which is, an attempt to create a more lively and dynamic atmosphere on Friday nights at the ballpark. And that's primarily, like when we conceptualized it, it was primarily how do we get younger fans here on a Friday night. It's turned into, it's not just young fans that want to have fun on a Friday night, and that's great. That's another way to engage with people. And we have fans that just come for the social experience of being in Budweiser Terrace on a Friday night. So that's one example. This year we launched an initiative on Sundays called Kids Sundays, where we are trying to create an experience for kids, families with young kids, that is beyond the baseball game, both pre-game and into the game. There's activities from ice cream Sundays, which we've done for a long time, our hot dog and soda program, which we've done for a long time. But we've enhanced that with other activities and things that kids would find interesting. And really the recognition, and I can speak to this having young kids who have much shorter attention span than I do, of it's hard to go to anything for 3 hours with a 4-year-old, or in my case, 4 and 9-year-old. And there's got to be something that breaks it up. And so that's another example of what we're doing. We've been really focused on fan value. We know that we need to deliver value. And I think that's different than, talking about ticket prices. It's for the price you pay, you need to feel like you got your money's worth or more than that. And that could mean you paid $500 or $5 for your ticket. The statement still needs to
Or
hold true.
going to the Coke section and paying $30 and trying to beat the house with 15 items.
Yeah, there's been some amazing records set in the Coke all-you-can-eat section. But it's finding ways to deliver value to our fans, and that comes in many forms.
Derek, did you go?
I did, yeah.
Derek and then Randy. So Derek, go ahead.
For Bill, sir, you touched on the team's success this summer. I wonder how that might inform decisions here on the near term and also short term, because the team has outperformed expectations and there has been some buzz and response from the fans, both with ticket sales but also with taking their shirts off. I'm wondering how that might inform or even make you think about what's possible with this team. If that accelerates the timeline for contention, how you look at that.
You know, Haim's at the table here too, and has a microphone. It's funny because we're already getting those trade deadline questions, and for as long as I've been involved, everybody I've talked to in senior management, baseball, and business has started entertaining trade deadline questions this early, but literally it doesn't start to actually heat up until like a week before, when you kind of are where you are at that decision point time. But for sure, this team has been really fun to watch. We've got a lot of young players who are sort of coming into their own. And I don't know, maybe we're certainly a little ahead of where we thought we were. Still a long way to go this year, right? But if they can keep this up, it could change a little bit how we think about things. But, always hedging on stuff like that until you get to that actual decision point. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, from my perspective, obviously, I sat here in the fall, and I've said it a number of times since that, we have, pretty ambitious goals, and we want to make sure that we have a good plan to get there and that we don't get distracted from the things that need to happen in order for us to reach those goals. I still feel that way and still feel as I felt then, shortcuts aren't going to get you where you want to go. But even though I did say that, obviously, when we were willing to make those hard decisions to focus us towards our long-term goals, nothing's changed with that. But at no point are we not going to walk in this building looking to win. I think the cool thing about what's happened to this point, in part because of what we did in the offseason, I think there might be a lesson in this. We did it with a focus on a certain ambition and a certain goal, and that the success that we've come by, I like to think we've come by it honestly. We've come by it, not through taking those shortcuts, not through, trying to find cheap thrills, but really to try to build something. And we've experienced a lot of success so far along the way. So I do think we have to keep that in mind. Obviously, like Bill said, we've got a lot of time between now and when the deadline action really heats up. Anytime you have a deadline, most of the action is going to happen pretty darn close to that deadline. And, so that may inform some of the opportunities that are available then, and where we stand might inform some of the specific decisions. But I think we want to keep in mind, we want to have this success through building towards something. I think that really, more than characterizing us any one specific way, just keeping in mind what we're building and doing justice to that and trying to win through doing that is really needs to continue to be front and center for us.
Okay, Randy.
Bill III, CEO Bill, you've obviously overseen business operations for a long time. Now it's business and baseball. I would assume you have the business operations pretty close, but how close is the baseball model to what your philosophy is right now?
Well, like the business, there's been a lot of change, and that change has been accelerating probably over the last 5 years. And I think right now the baseball organization is in good shape with Haim and some of the changes he's made. But I don't come into this saying we have to change the following things on the baseball side. I come at it more as somebody that is ready and sort of willing to go a little deeper into the organization on the baseball side than perhaps I have in the past, and just really learn. Because I think when you're I was in this role for 18 years, and sort of you know everybody in the business side, and so when issues come up, what people's opinions are, you're collecting them, you know where people are coming from. I want to get to that point on the baseball side, which shouldn't take long because I pretty much know most of the people, but I haven't collaborated in this significant way down through that organization as I have on the business side. So it's just kind of going a little deeper in that regard and just being very much a patient listener for the time being until I get a little more confident.
And then one more, just in terms of, okay, it's 5 o'clock, and Haim says an agent needs an answer by 6. Where does the buck stop?
I mean, just, we're both going to be involved in those conversations. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to Greg Palermo and then Benjamin after.
Actually, Randy kind of hit on that for both DeWitts. How will this be the same as it has been as far as like a trade deadline discussion? How will it be different?
Well, with that particular topic, it's just a three-way call is usually how it goes down. So, yeah, I mean, like when you think about it, most big decisions are collaborative anyway. I mean, it's very unusual. I mean, I guess some owners have overruled their general managers all the time. I've been seeing that a lot in your case. You have at times done that, but I think, you look at the draft room, and there's many people in the draft room as in this room, it's a collaborative process for all that stuff, particularly the big decisions, to be honest. You want to get everybody's opinion. And usually the opinion has consolidated to the point where Haim, or before him, Mo, has a recommendation based on all those opinions. And at that point, you're just kind of double checking and triple checking how that collaborative process has led to that opinion.
Benjamin.
I'll make a comment on that. I would say we're a draft and build organization, and when the trading deadline comes up, teams have a tendency to, if I get one more guy, I'll give him 2 of my draft choices. Then I can make the playoffs. That's kind of not our model, and we'll obviously engage at the deadline, but it'll not be for a 2-month, hopeful. It'll be, a good reason to make the deal regardless of where we happen to be.
For Bill the third, we've chatted about this before, but the idea that Cardinals fans pass down the team to their kids almost like an heirloom, well, so to speak, the franchise is literally your family's heirloom. Can you describe the, pride in your promotion and what it means to this city for the next, if you will, 50 years or whatever the length of time you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of businesses in St. Louis that are sort of generational. We're sort of a medium-sized town. It feels small sometimes, but we've got great cultural institution. It's big in some respects as well. So I think people in this market are familiar with that pattern. I'm certainly proud of it. I mean, I love pointing out my grandfather's role here, which was here about 20 years as treasurer, worked with Branch Rickey, and that's a point of pride for me. And we have partners. I think it's important to acknowledge and get their contributions as well, and they've been a key part of our this collaborative approach that we've had on the ownership level too. So that'll continue, and but it is, it's pretty cool. I mean, it isn't too often that you see, particularly an organization like this, have that much heritage in one family, and I think it's pretty cool. We were just talking to Chip. Chip helped us with the employee event, Chip Carey, and I mean, he was talking about his grandfather, and now his kids are involved, and so you have that in baseball. I think even in other big sports, but the ones in baseball tend to go way back. Chip's family is like that. It's fun to have that aspect in the announcer ranks too, and So, yeah, it's a point of pride.
To that point, I'd also like to introduce Kathy DeWitt, Bill's wife and Bill III's mom. A big part of this, certainly the DeWitt family and this Cardinal family, over the many, many years that the DeWitts have led our ball club. So Kathy, thank you too. Any last questions? Jeff?
Bill, when your family took over this franchise, your dad was actually, I think, a little bit younger than you are today. Do you envision a day where you would be his age, older, and passing this down to another generation of your family? I know in January I asked your dad about this a little bit, but is that how you envision the future of the St. Louis Cardinals, remaining in your family in that kind of control for the decades to come?
I don't think that that's like the primary goal of life to do that. Having said that, I mean, it's certainly a possibility, and I think it would be cool if it could be done. There is a third generation that's here and contributing in several ways. So certainly leave it open, but I also don't think it's at the point where you would say, oh yeah, that's the goal.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you again. Congratulations. Media, I know it's a busy day, a lot of sports news here in town. We appreciate you coming out and the first ball game tonight. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.